So happy Friday, everybody. We're almost ready to wrap for the day. So thanks for sticking around. I'm Kevin Kochanski. I'm client liaison at Notch8. I serve as the chair for the Hyku interest group, which meets once a month. And to describe myself, I am a white male in his mid 40s, though sometimes I still get 28. And I've got very closely cropped dark brown hair and that you could call bald and a little bit of a scruff on my face. And I'm wearing a green checked shirt that is a bit tighter than it was in March. Thank you for joining us and onward with Hyku in 2020. A little bit of background, we were asked to make this approachable to folks that might be new to the community. So I'll give a little bit of context on where Hyku sits in the Samvera context. Hyku is known as a solution bundle. So if you have the Samvera components that are core components sitting on Fedora and Solar, and Hyrax is a commonly used engine to create an application out of that. Hyku goes a step further and takes Hyrax and turns it into a turnkey solution that's out-of-the-box software that you can use as a repository. Hyrax and Hyku look very similar off the bat, and in fact, everything in Hyrax is also in Hyku, but Hyku adds a little bit to that. So just to quickly look at some of the differences and shared capabilities between the two. Both offer faceted search and browse experience. Both use Universal Viewer and IIIF support for images. Both allow the submission of new items. Both have a batch import, not a huge bulk import, but a batch import capability. And both utilize collection management and collection types. Both offer a mediated deposit workflow for reviewed submissions. Both include access controls and embargoes and leases that can be set on works. Items that are unique to Hyku, the kind of marquee item there is multi-tenancy. So what that means is that in one instance of the software, you can set up several discrete repositories. To explain this, a use case is a library consortia like the Palni-Palsi project. Between the two of them, they have 40 or 50 some member libraries. In one instance of the software, each library member can have its own discrete repository that to all eyes looks like it belongs to that library. Hyku also includes pre-built work types that beyond what comes out with Hyrax. It has the pre-installed bulk import and export with bulk racks, and it has a lot more out-of-the-box theming options than Hyrax. Hyrax has some color UI choices that the user can make or the admins can make. Hyku offers a lot more colors, fonts, branding, and logo options that you can do right from the admin console. And it also has built-in user management options. Some general updates around Hyku. Hyku 3.0 is almost out the door. This is going to include a bump to Hyrax 2.9, to Rails 5.2, and Ruby 2.7. The bulk racks import export tool is going to be behind a feature flipper. So this can be turned off or on a per tenant level. That means each instance of a repository in a multi-tenant Hyku setup can decide to use bulk racks or not. And likewise, at the tenant level, you can now configure the contact us so that it's not universal for the application, but each repository can have its own contact us email flow. It'll also include some user management elevation. Super admin across all tenants is going to be a feature, and there'll be allocation for SSO integration. The thing that's held this up a little bit was in the 11th hour, we discovered an issue that the community decided was worth holding the release for as it gets resolved. This is that there was a cross-tenant permission issue that was only applicable to institution-only items, not public or private items. The base permissions that it gives you may not be correct when you switch tenants. So that's a pretty isolated situation. Most people are not going to be switching tenants unless they have the same permissions across those tenants anyway. but it is unintended and is a potential risk. So we wanted to clean that up before releasing the new version of the software. We expect resolution for that and a 3.0 release before December. The Hyku interest group meets monthly, and sample agenda. Each month we look at pilot updates from the projects that are in motion for Hyku. These days we tend to get updates from PALNI and PALC on our Hyku for Consortia product, the Advancing Hyku grant, the British Libraries repository, and two Notch8 projects, the Washington University St. Louis Newman Numismatic Portal and the US Department of Transportation's National Transportation Library. We also discussed the roadmap. That's an effort to align projects and formalize the features that will be included on the Hyku roadmap. We'll discuss release updates and any issues that come up there. We also welcome newcomers. So this is a call to anybody to please join this group if you have an interest, but or at least sit in on one. It's a welcoming environment like most things in the Samvera community. So we have seen a lot of new faces, and some folks just come in and listen and hear what's going on in Hyku. Some have questions, but it's always nice that people who are exploring repository options or even Hyku in particular are certainly welcome to join. And that's a Zoom meeting that meets the last Thursday of each month. A little bit of a recap on those active pilot projects that are currently in development. The National Transportation Library 3.0 is the US Department of Transportation's replacement for a legacy repository. Currently, Notch8 are the lead developers on this, working with Illumin, and we're currently finalizing SSO integration and performing government security audit. Phase 1 should be delivered next month, which is very exciting. This is going to introduce the ability to edit controlled vocabulary fields, which we hope to get contributed back to Hyku soon. And it also features a custom and complex mediated deposit workflow beyond what Hyku offers out of the box. Another key project is the Shared Research Repository. This is a British Library managed multi-tenant repository for cultural heritage organizations in the UK. It's a shared repository of currently 6 separate tenant repos on one single Hyku instance. It features include dataset integration for DOI creation. Not all of the features of the repository will be considered for core Hyku. For instance, their public front end is a bespoke development. And currently they're in a successful beta repository. They're planning to move to full shared service for other organizations in January of next year. The Newman Numismatic Portal is a project with Washington University in St. Louis, and that's moving a collection from a legacy .NET application that they took over. This is actually a single tenant Hyku instance for a numismatic special collection. It has some relatively complex metadata relationships beyond parent and child, and it includes multiple unique work types related to coin collecting. So auction catalogs and price lists are some of those examples. And we'll be implementing an Internet Archive book reader for searchable, flippable PDFs that include transcripts. Hyku for Consortia is a collaborative repository for consortial member libraries. Their informational site is hykuforconsortia.org. I know they have their own blog. And that's with the Private Academic Library Consortium the Pennsylvania Academic Library Consortium Incorporated and the Private Academic Library Network of Indiana. It's a multi-tenant application in pilot stage that's across those 2 library consortia with many member libraries. They are working on collaborative workflow developments that will be contributed back. So far, we've successfully integrated the bulk racks tool for bulk import and used that. And they're currently, or next, we'll be focusing on multiple theming templates that they hope to contribute back. And these are going to accommodate various repository use cases. The feeling is that Hyku out of the box is very IR focused, and this might attract some other users to Hyku as a software. The Advancing Haiku grant supports the project supports the growth of haiku by introducing significant structural improvements and new features. Their informational site is advancinghaiku.io. And I'm sure you will have heard about this. It's big news, and it's a collaboration between University of Virginia, British Library, Ubiquity Press, and it's funded by Arcadia Charitable Foundation. Current updates on that are that they're working on adapting existing Hermeos metrics and general user analytics. Also working on ORCID integration, which is a common ask in the community. And we are happy to have Ilkay Holt join the community and the project on behalf of the British Library. Because of Haiku's multi-tenant functionality, it lends itself to a hosted service solution. A couple of those out there, Ubiquity Press offers U repositories, which is at u-repo.io for information. And we at Notch 8 offer Haiku Up and haikuup.com. We've recently relaunched our informational site there. Digging into the Haiku roadmap a little bit, there's a URL here, but you could probably get there a lot faster just by Googling Haiku roadmap. And that spelling makes it easy to find. It's also a pain on autocorrect. That's an effort for us to find synergy amongst the multiple concurrent projects in the community, as well as aligning with other roadmaps when we can. We've made this a regular agenda topic for the Haiku interest group meetings. So we tend to discuss 1 or 2 features a month that is either in progress and needs to get formalized on the roadmap, or something that's a wish list item that we feel like we should prioritize. We discuss and assess the broad usefulness of these plans to contribute to the code, or whether something might be too esoteric for core code. And when we reach a consensus there, we add that to the roadmap that's available on the wiki site. A couple items on the roadmap that are in progress or about to be added or under discussion include the DOI integration from Ubiquity Press's British Library project. There's also group and permission work coming from Notch 8 and Palni Palsi that may add to the roadmap, and enhanced relationship work that comes from both Palni Palsi and the Washington University NMP project that goes a lot beyond parent-child to version of or is part of and those kind of relationships. Some potential future features that we've discussed include those theming templates for different use cases from Palni Palsi. The ORCID integration from Advancing Haiku sounds like a must. Controlled fields editor that comes from the Department of Transportation project may be useful. We've also heard Advancing Haiku is working on the automatic expiration of embargoes and leases, and there are cross-tenant search options as well that could be contributed back. Haiku has a pretty extensive presence at Connect this year. So we've already heard our keynote speaker, Torsten Reimer from the British Library, was making a lot of reference to their Haiku application. There was a workshop yesterday on Hyrax and Haiku that was a hands-on introduction. And starting next week, I count at least 4 Haiku-focused presentations, including supporting collaboration in Haiku, the Ubiquity repositories presentation, a use case panel called Why Haiku that has several community members, and Your Remote Matters on the Advancing Haiku project. I invite everybody to get more engaged with Haiku and follow. So haiku.samvera.org is I keep looking at the wrong camera. Haiku.samvera.org is an informational site that we try to keep updated with presentations and demos that are in the community. You'll find listings for the presentations of this Connect that relate to Haiku there. Samvera Slack has its own Haiku channel. You're welcome to join that for questions or just to see what's going on with the Haiku community. There is a Google group as well, and the Haiku interest group, a little bit more information on that since I won't stop talking about it. It meets at 8:30 Pacific, 11:30 Eastern, and 4:30 UK time. the last Thursday of each month. And there is a Zoom link and agenda notes, previous meeting notes, and that sort of stuff, if you find that on the wiki as well. So I want to say thank you, and I feel like I've ended a little bit early. That might not be too bad since that was the last thing on the schedule for today. So thanks for listening, and I hope that everybody has a really great Connect.